Thank you so much for joining us on at this KARYA webinar talking about cloud services, infra, DevOps, and cybersecurity. We really appreciate you all joining us. My name is Priya Iyer. I am the president of KARYA Technologies US, and I'm here to introduce our main star, Praveen Kumar. I'm going to give you a quick background. We were founded in 2007 in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, PA, and we have a very large overseas delivery team who delivers most of, if not all, of our contracts. We have 250 clients across 25 countries, and we serve, it says 15 industry verticals. We serve quite a few industry verticals. I think that number has changed. As you can see, we have evolved quite a bit from 2007 when we were working on web and mobile applications to what we've done in the last 8 or 9 years, which is Microsoft Dynamics, Oracle, and any type of ERP solutions. Next slide. Right now, KARYA has 6 lines of business, ranging from business software services, digital transformation, data management, quality assurance, IT infrastructure, and IT security. Number 5 and 6, this IT infrastructure and IT security, are really where we're going to be focusing on for this webinar. And obviously, we have this engagement model, which has all of the various services we provide for each of the 6 lines of business. Can we jump to the next slide, please? Oh, okay. Right now, during this webinar, we'll be covering a variety of topics, but I'm going to introduce our key speaker and keynote speaker, and he's going to walk you through the agenda and the rest of the webinar. Praveen Kumar has a degree in computer science, a Bachelor of Engineering degree in computer science, has 18 years of IT experience ranging from infrastructure and cloud services to cyber. And the last 4 of those years have been with KARYA Technologies. He has helped a variety of clients with any of their infra or cybersecurity needs. So please join me in welcoming Praveen Kumar.
Thank you so much, Priya. Hello, everyone. So thanks for this opportunity. So today we are going to discuss about the IT industry is evolving, cloud services evolving. So we are going to discuss how we can support your infrastructure and cloud services from customer perspective, how KARYA can add value to the business. So as Priya said, I have 18 plus years of experience and with the infrastructure and cloud services support. So we are going to cover and touch base on below areas where we can support our end customers. We are doing it on our regular basis for all the clients, like remote infrastructure management, cybersecurity, OS server support, DevOps and continuous monitoring, cost optimization, business continuity plan and disaster recovery, cloud services support, database administration level support, Office 365 administration. So these are all the areas we are going to assist our customers. We are doing it on our regular basis with our existing clients. So we thought we could give more info on these areas so that it would be helpful for the clients and we can align with their business so that we can support the customers' infrastructure and customers can focus on their core business rather than spending more time on the infrastructure activity, and they'll be finding it very difficult on the focusing on the core business. So this adds value to the business. So let's first discuss about the remote infrastructure management. So most of us would know what is remote infrastructure management. I'm not going to talk too much about that. Like managing your infrastructure from a remote location. It can be a software or a hardware or a software for your hardware, or networking devices, your operating system, servers, etc. So you can ask what value add I'm going to get, why we need a remote infrastructure support. I have a IT support team. My IT support team can do that. Why I need someone from different location to do that? So the main reason is the infrastructure is the heart for any business. Like if you're having an application and if your application is not going to perform well, or if it's not going to run at the point of a crucial business time, or when it is not always up, it leads to a poor customer experience and you tend to lose business. So we need to make sure always our system is up and running and with high availability and good performance. That is very important. So effective monitoring is essential for that. And you cannot all 24 hours, 365 days sit in front of your system and check all the servers regularly. So from our remote infrastructure management, we implement some best practices that are in the industry, like setting up a continuous monitoring system. So setting up these kind of continuous monitoring system, you need not log into all the servers to see the health checks of your servers and the performance. It can be like we can just see from a one dashboard, like you can monitor your 30 or 50 plus servers in a single page. So monitoring is most important aspect for remote infrastructure support. And maintenance, like for example, if you want to do any maintenance activity, like you cannot do the maintenance activity on the peak business hours. You have to do it on the off hours. You have to make sure like it's the planned downtime. So like the existing client side employees, they need not spend their time in office as well as go to their home and continue the work. So we can support them to have a proper work life balance. That is one thing. And we work from a different geolocation. We can add value and to your infrastructure areas, and you can focus on your core business areas to improve your business revenue. So if there is no periodic maintenance checks that are done for your servers on a regular basis, when there is a very busy schedule like Thanksgiving or some point of time where you have a huge workload for your system, at that point of time, if it is not going to perform well, then it's going to result in poor customer experience because of poor performance. So avoiding all these things, remote infrastructure management and maintenance is key on these areas. Next is a security aspect. We cannot compromise on security aspect. At the same time, nowadays, in recent years, there are vulnerability threats, like many vulnerability threats that are affecting customers' line of business on all possible layers, like server level or OS level kind of things. So we take a measure on all those areas. We tighten the gates and we make sure the protocols are followed, and we establish a set of rules, and we make sure those best practices are implemented. And also we implement some proactive tools so that you're notified in prior rather than firefighting at the end. Configuration network device and IT assets, like making sure like your IT devices are tracked and well configured so that it is not breached at any point of time, with the proper administrative policies that are in place for right from access control from AD level to cloud layer. So all these things, that's why I feel like a remote infrastructure is major important, and we take care on these areas so that it helps your infrastructure to be smooth and safe. And you need not visit your data center, or you need not log into your VPN at late night from your end. So we cover those kind of operations from offshore. So this is on the infrastructure management. So moving to next. So as I said, so how effectively we are doing our remote infrastructure management is like with always on support. Like we have a 24/7 shift management in place with dedicated shift leads and subject matter experts, and a dedicated L2 and L3 teams, and on-call supports for the same on each layer. And the maintenance tasks are planned well. Make sure like stakeholders are kept informed, like with prior approvals and all in place. Stakeholders are kept informed like before the action and the after the action, and also the proper pre and post sanity checks after the maintenance. Everything is taken care with a well-defined procedure. And we also focus on like not only on your remote infrastructure support level, we also focus on your billing aspect. Like for example, today most of the customers face a challenge, like everybody wanted to move on cloud, but how effectively we are managing the resource in cloud is most important thing. Like cloud operations is very easy, but at the same time, we need to make sure what resources we are going to create and what are the cost impacts for the resources which we are going to create. That needs to be assessed well and created, because today most of the customers we interact face this challenge. Like during the project critical deliverable, they mention like it should be highly available, and they give a very high beefed up server and all, which involves a very high cost. But after some point of time, like they feel like they have overspec and there is a lot of expense from the infrastructure layer. When we see like the servers are not used for the specs they have given for, like only 20 or 30% of utilization is there when compared to the allocated storage. So we take a complete analysis of your infrastructure on each level, and we make sure like those things are checked and kept and measured. So security aspect, as I said already, we are going to check layer wise, like all the best practices, right from VPN and followed by the OS level and the server level till the storage level kind of things. So the in-house teams would be completely busy with supporting the in-house customers on your office locations and the business activities, core business activities. So we take care of all remote infrastructure to support them in better way. So the next thing that we are going to discuss is cybersecurity support. So if you have any questions, please note it and put it on the chat so that we have a Q&A session at the end. We can discuss and brainstorm in that. So the next is cybersecurity support that we are going to discuss. So as I said, in recent years, there are several cyber attacks happening, they can spoil your web application through various cyber attacks. They can spoil the company's reputation, and it may lead to a poor customer experience, affecting the business revenue. So some of common cyber threat attacks like ransomware and malware attacks, like locking some critical files, phishing scam, like tricking the employees with some emails as if it is sent from one of our colleagues or from top management members, like an email received from CEO or CTOs. And so the most vulnerable attack, DDoS attacks, like when you're not architecting your server in a proper secured manner, you get affected with these DDoS attacks, which will affect your server performance drastically. What will happen is it will slow down all the applications that are running. Also, if it is like if you are having this on your in-house data center, then there are chances of affecting all the servers that are running in that particular data center. So these kind of vulnerabilities are in recent trends. So how we strengthen like in cybersecurity is like we take some proactive measures, like okay, from VPN perspective, are we following the best practices? From firewall perspective, what are all the rules that are, what are all the ports that are allowed? We monitor, we check for the application server level, whether are there any unauthorized ports that are allowed for your servers. We do a thorough analysis on those levels. For example, you can say we also check like one example I can give you, like if you have like a RDP connection where you access to the server, if you're going to expose your RDP in a generic port, then it is easy to attack in those areas. So we can have it in a customized port. We can assist you on those kind of things where you can change the ports for these kind of RDP or SSH, which are known for the attackers. So those kind of, this is just an example. There are several ways we can implement some proactive tools like to monitor your infrastructure, like all the endpoints. Also, if required, we can conduct a regular employee level training, or we can give the inputs so that the trainings can be conducted by the respective client side team. We can give all the necessary input and equip them with the required details. Backup strategies. The most important thing when you're attacked or when there is a worst case scenario, the first thing that comes to our mind is the backup. How many of us in today's trend are we testing our backups and DR mechanisms? Like most of them wouldn't have done in recent months for sure. So we have a process like every quarter for some applications. We give the requirement and suggestions to customers, and based on their input, we do it. Like for example, for major critical applications, we can test like monthly or bi-weekly, and a few other applications that are not that critical, we can do like a quarterly. So we do a thorough check on your backups and restoration test. We make sure like it is tested well, because we want to avoid firefighting during the actual disaster or tough challenge situation. So we just make sure like proactive measures are taken in care. So cybersecurity solutions, like from my end, as I said, like we implement firewall solutions if required, configure firewalls and maintain. If your firewall is already configured, we analyze all the rules that are implemented, and we share like if there are any gaps identified, we recommend suitable solution and make the necessary change. Proactive threat monitoring, like you have some tools where vulnerability assessment tools, where the tool is we help to deploy those kind of tools on the infrastructure, and it will scan your complete infrastructure and notify for the vulnerabilities that we are going to discuss later. And as I said, we have an effective support team with 24/7 shift and respective subject matter experts for L1, L2, L3 level and on-call support. So we, with the effective ITIL best practices, we make sure incidents are handled well and updated to all the stakeholders till the closure with effective follow-up and proper change management process as well. And data protections, we make sure like all your backups are configured well with encryption format, and make sure your backups are not accessed by anyone. It's with high security. Those kind of best practices are also taken care. So one scenario I would like to share with you all, like there was one particular customer where we were supporting for a customer, and it was like on-premises data center. At that point of time, all the applications running on the on-premises data center was performing well. All of a sudden, it started performing very slowly. Like the pages on the apps were loading very slowly. So with the effective monitoring tool that we have configured, we quickly narrow down to the issue. Like there was one particular server that was consuming a very high bandwidth of internet usage and the network usage and the RAM memory usage. So we narrow down to the actual server, which was unusual behavior based on the critical alerts that we received. And we quickly identified what process that is consuming, and we isolated that from the environment, and we made sure like within a minimal downtime, we secured the environment and the applications were up and running fine. So this is one such an example. There are a few other which we'll be discussing shortly. So vulnerability assessment and fixes. So as I said, reactive support is fine. What proactive mechanism we are keeping in place is like assessing your infrastructure on a periodic basis, like scheduling your virtual machines, your servers, your network endpoints, your laptop assets, and a Mac or a Windows server, all the IT related and the user level devices. The endpoints are configured with a security tool, and we make sure like the scan reports are seen and listed based on the priority, which will be showing like how we do that in the upcoming slide. So most of the vulnerability fix assessments that we do are mainly because of like the security patch on the OS server. It's not updated on a regular basis. So we make sure like that is done with proper plan. Like we make sure like the lower level environment is first patched, and make sure there is no application impact happening on that. So that's why I said we follow ITL best practices and effective change management. We do not just like that go ahead and do it on a production environment. We make sure it's properly done with proper change process, getting the required approvals from the stakeholders, and make sure that the steps that are to be followed, prior fixes, post fixes, all those things are taken care. Hardening your OS level kind of things, those kind of best practices, GPO validation, access control validations from cloud perspective, from AD level, Active Directory level perspective, those kind of things are also taken care. And also when performing firmware updates for your software devices, that is also taken care. And we also make sure like verification and reporting is done properly from our end. We make sure like vulnerability reports are sent to the stakeholders, customer side stakeholders. Like these are all the vulnerabilities that we have been scanning, and these are all the fixes that has been done, that has been shared on a regular basis, and it will be done as a regular business as usual activity with proper reports for each and every deliverable. So one such example here, like a healthcare client was like they were using outdated software. Like they didn't update their software, and when we were called in for support, we identified that actually from which area the threat got thing, and we immediately patched the required thing, and also we guided the customer to make sure like these are all the softwares that needs to be patched with the tool that we recommended, and they haven't got any attacks in recent years. So that's the advantage of having a proactive monitoring systems for your cybersecurity aspects. So this is one example, like what the tool that we are talking about, like a Tenable IO. It's not like there are several other tools in the market. This is one of the better tool that is being used to scan all the endpoints of IT infra layers, starting from your servers, laptop devices, network level devices. So it performs various types of scan, like a basic level scan. It just covers your common OS and software vulnerability related. And advanced scan, it's a deep analysis from registry level and advanced compliance checks. And malware scan, the check for unusual process. So this is just a sample screenshot that shows like once the scan is done for your application or a VM, it listed out the list of vulnerabilities like it also says the severity of the vulnerability. Based on that, you can take your uh, reactive support, like what are all things that needs to be addressed first, like high priority, medium, low level. Based on those things, you can take the required steps. One thing we have to be very careful on these, like sometimes when you are using a legacy application, we have to make sure like the updates or patching, whatever that you are going to do, it needs to be tested in a low level environment. So that is what I said. We have to follow proper change process. So we do it on a low level environment. We make sure like there is no impact on that after enough testing, like 1 week or depending upon the client side sign off for the low level environment, we proceed for the production level fixes. The other scan, that is like a web application scan. So now till now we were discussing about scanning your IT assets. So web application URL endpoints are one of the most important thing, and it is easily exposed to vulnerable things because it is public facing URL. So anybody can try attacking or hacking. So there is like complaints to be followed, and OWASP like listed like a top 10 vulnerabilities like SQL injection and excesses. So these kind of tools, they scan whether are this web URL is infected with any such 10 type. If it is the case, it would immediately notify, and we can immediately take the counter action for those kind of things. So the next one, what we are going to discuss is OS level support. So we all know without operating system, we cannot interact with our laptops, or we cannot interact with our applications or anything. So it's a backbone of our IT of any infrastructure. So we rely on whether it's a Windows server or it's a Linux server. So we completely rely on operating system, and we make sure like our trained subject matter experts on OS level. Like Linux, we have SMEs. For Linux and Windows, we have subject matter experts, and make sure like system reliability and security with better performance is maintained always. So the next part, what we are going to discuss is like how effectively we can do the continuous monitoring, disaster recovery, and the backup things, patch updates, all these things in the upcoming slide. So backup and disaster recovery, we already discussed. Like most of us wouldn't have tested the backups in recent months, for sure. Like I would be taking a backup, and the backups would be sitting on my cloud, or it might be sitting on my on premises. But have we validated all the backups? Like there are different types of backups. For example, you can take just the database backup alone. Using the database backup, you can immediately just restore the database. What if like you want the application level kind of complete backups? Then you need to go for like a complete VM type snapshot backups. So we have to make sure those things are done well. And like there are several backups mechanism in Azure, in AWS that are available that we'll be discussing. Patch updates we already discussed, like security patch updates, like which are the most common reasons for any vulnerability attacks that are happening. We make sure like Windows security patches are checked and applied in low level environment. Effective access control mechanism, make sure who are all provided access with what level of access. We do a thorough audit and check for all the access level restrictions, and enable multi-factor authentication. Make sure like a proper layer mechanism is there to reach your infrastructure servers, all those things. And also we support on like migration. Like if you want to migrate from one version of Windows Server to another version of Windows Server, we do that as well. So as I said, these are all the areas that we support on Windows Server, Linux Server. And the next one is the database level. So we have a dedicated database subject matter experts under respective database flavors. Like for example, we have a Oracle database admin, we have a Postgres database admin, we have a MySQL database admin, we have a SQL Server administrators, we have SQL developers for the corresponding. So we make sure like we not only do the administrative activities, also we help in improving the performance. So most of the server performance issue occur because of database level issues. Based on my experience, like it can be because of jobs that are not configured properly with proper time interval. Most of the jobs conflicting each other. Like there might be a backup running at the same time, there might be a report or a maintenance job that might have been triggered. So all these things are taken care well, so that there is no conflict. And sometimes there might be a report query that might be running for a very long interval of time. We need to make sure like optimizing those kind of things, like indexing, all those best practices are implemented in database level. Similarly, migrations, like I want to migrate from one version of database to another version, we assist on those areas as well. Another key important aspect in infrastructure is the DevOps. So DevOps mostly like most of us know that's a core industry that has been developed very well in recent years, like automating things, like core components using continuous integration and continuous deployment, ensure like a smooth process to avoid a lot of manual errors. Previously, several years before, if you want to do a deployment, like copy files from one location and paste it on the other location, we have to do navigate to the respective directory. So many manual jobs we were doing. Now everything is automated with the DevOps practice, like a set of scripts, like you just do a single click and the job, whatever that you configure, takes care of those kind of deployment activities and makes life easier. And also you can track like what are all the actions that has been performed, like how many deployments. So there are a lot of tools in place, so that will help your life easier to track like how many deployments have gone in my environment for the day. In recent 1 week, everything can be tracked, and your success and failure rate metrics is in front of you in just a dashboard format. So it makes your life easier and reduces the manual effort, and chances for human errors are reduced drastically with the DevOps practice. So one of the automation, what we thought like why we have to, like we have like 30 or 40 plus servers, and I cannot log into my server to see the health of my server, whether it is performing properly or not. Like every time I cannot ping my server to see whether it's up or not. So we thought like a continuous monitoring system, building a continuous monitoring system is one important thing, as most of our clients having a challenge, like they were either spending more cost on their monitoring expense, or some clients they didn't have a monitoring solution in place. So we thought like why don't we build one? So we thought we should also save the cost at the same time for the client. At the same time, it should do an effective job. So we picked a very popular open source product, and we tweaked that and we fine tuned that and customized that. If required, we also can rebrand and support you on those areas. So it just once you the configuring those is very simple. Like it just takes like 1 or 2 days setting up the base infrastructure for that, and then configuring for each server takes like a couple of hours, more than that, not more than that. Like it just monitors your complete infrastructure areas, like your RAM usage, your disk usage, your CPU usage, and key services, Windows services that are to be monitored. Imagine you're having a C drive, and if it is not properly configured properly and all your SQL logs are getting stored in your C drive is going to pile up and crash if it is 100% utilized, or it lead to a very poor performance, like it slows your complete server. So those things can be proactively identified, like setting up a threshold, like, hey, alert me when it reaches like 60 or 70 percentage or 80 percentage for warning, and when it reaches to 90% critical, I can take. At the same time, these are all mobile friendly. Nowadays, everybody is mobile addicted to mobile, and we want things in our hand. You need not log into your VPN. You need not log into your system to open your monitoring solution. All you can do is just with your mobile, you can just check, hey, I can see my infrastructure in my hand. I don't want to go ahead and log in every time to my VPN or to my network to see all these things, making life very easy. So we have developed one such tool. It's KARYA monitoring system with the Prometheus and the Grafana. So like it gives an very attractive dashboard compared to other open source marketing system, where it will show like how many days it's been your server has not been restarted, because periodic maintenance restart is required for any server, like at least 30 days one, especially production or something, because only then it will clear all the mem cache and all those things, and it would perform in a better way. So it'll, I, at the same time, I cannot count like whether it's 30 day or 40th day for my server. So it will notify you like this is exceeded 30 days. So you need to plan for a restart activity for this particular server or any maintenance that are to be done. The next one is RAM usage. So it will help you to identify which process is consuming a very high RAM usage, and you can drill down to the narrow down to the issue, like whether it's a SQL process that is consuming, or whether it's something OS related, or whether it's some application level process that is consuming, and you can coordinate with the respective team to get these things sorted to fix it. And the disk level, as I already said, told, if the disks are not monitored, it's going to pile up, and it's going to increase your disk space, and you'll be keep on adding more disk space, which will add more cost to your infrastructure. So it will help us to notify then and there, and you can make required cleanups at the same time. There is another tool that we implement for most of our clients. So whatever the tools that I'm sharing, these are all based on the recommendations that we provide. We have shared it for our clients. Like there might be some clients like I'm okay with the cost, I can manage, but I just want to make things very easy. I don't want to have too technical skills to manage my monitoring system. So for those kind of customers, we recommend a Datadog SaaS product. Like it's very simple and easy to deploy, and configure this dashboard and get all the monitoring metrics. Like it has like application level monitoring, database level monitoring, and infrastructure level monitoring. And I think the cost is around like 18 to $20 to monitor one particular host. So this is where I said we do effective cost management for our clients. So imagine you are having like 30 VMs or 40 VMs running on your infrastructure, and you're going to spend like $20 or $25 for one VM. So let's keep 30. So you'll be spending close to $600 to $700 per month for monitoring your infrastructure. So for a year, it's going to be like $8,400 to $9,000, including VAT and everything. So you'll be spending close to like 8,000 USD, let's say. So for a 3 years term, it's going to be like 24,000 USD, which is a very big money. So if you allow KARYA to be partner with you, and we can support you on your infrastructure, we can recommend like the monitoring system that we discussed earlier. Like all you need to do is like just provide us a virtual machine or a V or a server, like with a very low spec. It would hardly cost in cloud like $30 to $40 or maximum $50 per month. So the entire year expense is going to be just $60. I mean $600. So think about the money that you're going to save in long-term perspective. It's very huge. So the difference is very huge. Like where is 25,000, and here you're going to spend only close to like maximum you'll be spending close to 2,000 to 2,500 USD, whereas you're going to spend close to 24,000 USD something in like a 3 years term. So that's why like we have our subject matter experts and respective members. They can assist you in configuring those to make your life easier. As I said, another key important monitoring from SQL perspective is like SQL job monitoring. If the SQL jobs are not monitored regularly and it is notified, it leads to like a lot of performance issues. For example, a SQL job that is supposed to be running for just only 1 hour of time or like 30 minutes, and that job is usually gets completed in 30 minutes. It's running for 4 hours. What happens is it blocks the process for next set of things, and it keeps piling up, and it slow down the entire server, and the application slow down, and it results in poor customer experience. So all these things are to be avoided with a proper monitoring mechanism. With our monitoring mechanism, all these SQL job failures can be highlighted then and there, and immediate actions can be notified. Hey, this query is running for more than 30 minutes. It is supposed to get finished. So we can take the action immediately rather than waiting for the server to crash after 4 hours and firefighting with the servers. So that's one thing. And if the SQL jobs are failed, it will also notify immediately. As I said, all these monitoring alerts, you need not open your laptop or your desktop, office laptop or desktop to see. It can be configured to your mobile devices. And you can see the notifications via Slack. Slack is just an option. You can use Teams as well. You get the options with your Slack, Teams, or emails. So the other DevOps kind of tool that we thought to help our clients on cost saving mechanism was like a project management kind of a ticketing system. We developed this with an open source product called Redmine, and this has a functionality similar to Jira, where you can do effective project management. Like I want to know what are all the tickets that you can create a separate project for your application development purpose, like you are developing a software or anything, and you can see like how many tickets are in developers hand, how many tickets are with ready for deployment, how many tickets are there for next production release, how many tickets are there for the incidents. All those tickets, things, everything can be tracked under one tool under respective projects. So as I said, how many hours are hours of effort that are being put by the respective technicians for those things, everything can be tracked using this tool. So how KARYA helps to reduce your infra cost? As I said, we have these monitoring mechanisms. We can recommend those kind of solutions. And at the same time, we also analyze your infrastructure. And if there are any situations where you're oversized your infra for more than what is needed, you have doubled the spec. So we can recommend. Also, if your infrastructures are not active in reservation plan. Like if you are in cloud and if you are not in reservation plan, we can check and give you a recommendation for your reservation plan. We give you a suitable resolution for all those kind of things, like a 1 year or 3 year resolution. It will save like close to 70% of your cost on your billing. At the same time, we also create some alerts so that like if my bill is going to exceed like usually I get a bill of like 8,000 USD per month, and if my bill is going to exceed above 8,000, immediately I want to be notified. I don't want to wait for the whole month to get a surprise bill of 16,000 or something. Immediately I can see like what is the recent change I have made and which is contributing to my infrastructure spike. Those corrective measures we support based on the effective tools that we configure for all your infrastructure areas. Similarly, like there is a case I can share one example, like if the customers were running their instances on demand, so we recommended a suitable right reserved instance plan. So they saved their cost on their infrastructure drastically on all their compute cost. And the other thing is like, for example, sometimes you might overspec your server. I could give you another example where client was using an application. Yeah, it's a GP application, and they were having a very huge beefed up server, and they were spending close to like $6,000 per month for one particular server alone. Because it's a very critical application and they wanted to make sure the performance is extremely good. So we thought like what was contributing more, and he wanted to reduce some cost. So there was they created all those servers with ultra disk with very high ops and throughput range. Like the cost for ultra disks are already very high, and they have configured with maximum IOPS and throughput range. So what this does is like it's just doubling their when we monitored their infra resources, the disk utilization was only like around 10%. So we recommended them like we can try reducing the IOPS and throughput range, and we can monitor the performance as it is only 10% use. And we tried changing it in the low level environment first, and we noticed whether are there any application level impacts by checking some reportings and other things. And then we did on the production, and we monitored the instance closely, because this change can be immediately rolled back without even downtime. So we did the change for the client, and that saved almost like 3,000 to 3,500 USD per month. So imagine for a year, 30,000 USD per month. So it wasn't necessary at all. It's one example I'm just giving you, because everybody is going for cloud. At the same time, we need to make sure what we are spending, is it worth, is it being utilized? That is very important. That's where our subject matter experts analyze and give you the suitable recommendations. And if there are any unattached disks that are left behind after cleanups from your end, we monitor all those kind of things, and we give the cleanup activities to resolve the cost, reduce the cost areas. The next one is backup, business continuity backup and DR solutions. So powering resilience with business continuity backup and DR solutions. So as I said before, how many of us are testing our backups? That is one key thing. So if you test your backup on the real-time worst case scenario, and if that is not going to work, imagine that situation. So we form a process like your backups, your database level backups, it has to be tested. And these are all the sanity check protocols that are to be followed post checks. These are all the your complete VM level snapshot. Okay, these are all the VM level backups that are to be tested, and we have to make sure the application functions properly, all the sanity checks. So Azure provides Azure backups and DR solutions. Similarly, AWS also has S3 and Glacier. So we recommend cheaper solutions for Glacier for data that are not going to be touched for a very long period of time. So it saves a lot of cost. At the same time, we make sure all your backups are stored properly and in a secured manner. And in backups, one thing that we have to be very careful is your whether the RPO and RTO, recovery point objective and recovery time objective, how much data I can I can lose at that point of worst case scenario, and how much downtime I can afford when there is like for recovery time objective. So we need to define this by interacting with the customer. We need to make sure like these things are checked and defined properly with proper policy, and do the restoration test for each and every action item, and make sure that there is no chaos during the actual scenario, so that the team is also well trained on these activities so that they can handle effectively with confidence. We can also provide the required documents to the clients and make sure like they have a complete information about the process that has been performed from our end, and we can give complete support and guidance. There was a case where customer also wanted to have an additional level backup apart from because it's a very mission critical application, and they don't want to just rely on the one layer of backup from Azure. So they wanted like additional layer of backup. So for those kind of things, we recommend softwares like Veeam. This is one such example. There are a few other softwares also. This is one example like Veeam Backup. So it takes all types of backups similar to Azure. Like it takes a complete VM level backup. It takes a complete snapshot of your VM, database level backup, disk level backups, all those things. And you can store all these backups in your on-prem, any of your on-prem infrastructure in different location, different geolocation, or you can store it in another cloud, like for example, in AWS or in Azure or in a Google Cloud, wherever you want, those kind of things can be done. Also, we make sure backup failures are notified via email and corresponding actions are taken for each failures. There are sometimes backup jobs might fail because of some lack of updates that are not happened on the Azure agents or some kind of things. One such example. So we have to make sure like backup jobs are monitored well and audited regularly, and reports are shared to respective stakeholders. So implementing Veeam backup solution, that's what we discussed. So it does all the backup restoration test for those kind of things. We validate the restoration test on these areas. We make sure like we test the backups in different cloud. Suppose you want to restore your application which is running in Azure environment. On a worst case, you have the backup, secondary backup going to AWS environment. You want to test whether it's functioning properly. We support on those areas as well. And we test like whether there is no conflict because of a different cloud. So cloud service perspective, as I said, setting up an environment or infrastructure in cloud is very easy in nowadays, but how effectively you architect your system, that is where skill matters, and that is where subject matter experts comes into the picture, so that you need not do firefighting when there is a worst case. So we have to make sure like we follow protocols like it's a cloud, that's fine, but how my infrastructure is going to be secure in cloud, that's what we are going to do. And like you need to make sure like your infrastructure is properly built with proper gates in place, like from a VPN level, and from a proper cloud setup. Like you need to make sure it's with a private network, like nobody cannot easily access your network. And you need to make sure like you have a VPN level access to reach to your network, restrict the required IPs while connecting to your machines. Those kind of best practices we take care. And establishing connection from cloud to your on-prem. Suppose for example you have an on-prem data center and your AD servers are in your data center, and you want to establish cloud for all your applications, establishing connections from on-prem to your data center using the tunneling or site-to-site connection. Those kind of services also provided from our end. Storage, yes, we recommend suitable storage solution. For example, like storage, securing your environment, you have to make sure it's with proper high availability. For example, you are going to spin up for a development environment. I don't want my development, I don't want to spend more cost, I don't want a very high availability for this. So you have to make sure like those things are considered because it involves cost. So for example, if you are going to considered for a production, very mission critical application, and it is having like very high workload, and you want to make sure like this server is performing well always, and there should be like very high availability for this server. You need to configure it in that manner while creating with proper availability zones and availability sets. Like I want to make sure like this is with HA, like if my data center A is going to go down, it should be up and running with data center B in my cloud. So those things will not come automatically. You should be aware to make sure that you create a VM with such options, like giving the right availability zones and what are the zones that are needed. And availability sets is nothing but it is just like if a server on a data center fails, it will spin another server from the same data center. What if there is a worst case, if the entire data center is failing, then you need to focus on availability zone layer. If the entire there is a major disaster, then you need to focus like region level high availability. Those things are to be planned. Depends upon how mission critical your applications are. Similarly, storage level, you need to make sure like whether it's with LRS, like a local redundancy or a geo redundancy or a zone redundancy. So that's those things are to be considered. We also take care of your access control, as I said, from AD level to your cloud access level. So we monitor the GPO policies and the multi-factor authentication is enabled for all the users. Make sure all those checks are done. Backup and restore for all your VMs are tested and reported regularly. Suppose you have a requirement like I want multiple users to connect to my application and work for enhancing my applications, or some business users for taking some reports or accessing the application. We recommend some solutions like Azure Virtual Desktop. For example, if you're having like a AX application or something, multiple users want to connect, you can use like these kind of supports. We support on these areas as well. So benefits, as I said, easy to scale, and we monitor and recommend on the required scaling that is needed. Security aspect, we take proactive measures and say all the rules are followed, protocols are maintained. Cost efficiency and business continuity is checked with effective backup and disaster mechanism. So the database administration, as we already discussed, we have several subject matter experts on respective database flavors like Oracle, SQL Server, Postgres, and also we have NoSQL databases like MongoDB, Cassandra, Amazon DynamoDB, and we also have like AWS RDS, those kind of things, Azure SQL Server. So we have subject matter expert on all these areas. We can assist you on administrative and optimizing the performance areas. Like if there is a long running query or SQL jobs failing, all those things can be measured, monitored, and fixed then and there. Performance issues can be fine tuned. If indexing is needed, all those things can be controlled from our end to assist you on these areas. Database level maintenance activities are also taken care. Also, we have our subject matter expert in Office 365, Microsoft 365 administration. Also, KARYA is a Microsoft Cloud Solutions partner. So we support our clients like on all the areas like development and optimization, migration. You want to migrate from one version, and you want to tenant to tenant migration, or like you want to have any Power Automate workflows, Power Apps, those kind of things. And administrative user level license management, you want to monitor licensing. Monitoring is very important. You don't want the servers to license to expire, so all those things are monitored and renewed well in advance, all those things. And similarly, like for example, you're having a web application, and if your web application is having like one example I can give you for license renewal, like you're having a web applications, and if your SSL certs or license are expired, and if it is not monitored proactively and notified, what happens is like when the SSL, when someone hits your web page, like for example, say you are in uh, e-commerce site where a customer buys a product from your website and he's hitting your website, and when the website is hit, it comes like an insecure thing. and it leads to a poor customer experience, and nobody will be continuing on the website. They'll say like, hey, it's showing insecure. I don't want to proceed with this company anymore. I'll go for a different vendor, because they're going to enter their banking details over there, and they don't want to do that when it is on their on the internet like that, when it is showing insecure. So those kind of like SSL search, license renewal, everything will be taken care. Just an example. Similarly, all other software license renewals, everything would be taken care from our respective subject matter experts. Any questions? Please feel free.
There's 2 questions there. There's a few questions there.
Okay, the best approach to optimize cloud cost without compromising on performance. Yes, that is very important in cloud aspects. As I said, there are a lot of hidden services in cloud that you might not know. You might just see like from infrastructure perspective, the server cost is only like $150 per month. But if you see the bill, it will come like $600 or $800 per month, because there are a lot of other services that are required to make sure your server is running fine. So we have to make sure like what are all those services contributing to those costs. And first we need to make sure whether your instances are like in reserved instance or it's with on demand, because you're going to pay like 40 to 50% more if it is running in on demand. And at the same time, what kind of storage solution that you have opted. As I said, in one scenario, there was for a GP application, the customer was using an ultra disk with a very high ops and throughput range, which will, so we take such measures to reduce the cost. Like we assess the infra for that respective things, and we recommend solution. If the server is beefed up like anything that is not actually needed, only 10% or 20% of the resources utilized, then we recommend for, we monitor the trend. We don't take the decision just based on 1 or 2 days of monitoring. We monitor like 4 weeks or a couple of months trend for a very critical applications, and we recommend solutions based on that to reduce the cost. This one.
We have another question. How do you handle high CPU or memory utilization in cloud environments?
Yes, that as I said, so high CPU and memory, these are related to infrastructure core parameters. So infrastructure core parameters are checked using our continuous monitoring tool. We have KARYA monitoring system that I said, right? We have built using the open source system, and we can also like check which infra resource is consuming high CPU. If it is like a SQL process or it is like a OS level process that is consuming high CPU, we take the necessary action, whether it's because of any DDoS attack kind of process, and we take counter action accordingly. If it is a RAM usage, like my memory spike is going too high, and okay, we find out what process. So everything depends on which process is consuming very high memory usage, and we narrow down to the solution for each problem based on the process that is consuming high utilization of memory or CPU. If it is a SQL, then we need to find out whether it's any SQL job or a SQL query that is used for any reporting. So immediately we need to see whether are there any indexing in place properly, or if there are any long running jobs that can be optimized, whether it is supposed to run for these many hours or it is getting extended only for today's scenario, maybe because of heavy load, or it needs to be fine tuned, the query to be fine tuned. We take suitable measures on those.
The final question I see here is, how do you ensure 24/7 infrastructure support with minimal downtime?
Yes, as I said, we have a complete shift management, shift roster in place, and we make sure like respective subject matter experts and shift leads and a dedicated project management account manager in place for each projects that are associated with KARYA. We take care of complete ownership, and we make sure it is handled well with proper shift roster, and we also make sure like all the on-call support for necessary skill set is available. That's how we manage. Thank you.
Excellent. I don't see any additional questions. If anyone on the call has any questions for us afterwards, please be sure to reach out to us at info@karyatech.com or any of the other email addresses provided. We are happy to set up a meeting, a call to answer any of your additional questions. Thank you so much for giving us your time. And we will be posting a recording of this webinar out there in short order so that you can go back through and review any of the invaluable information provided today. Thank you again and have a wonderful day.
Thank you all.